Hi, in this video we will make a product inventory form by Reactjs. We'll actually try to cover up these fields, like what's the difference between React Ref and the synthetic events, what is the difference between form, and also how you can handle the information of a form in Reactjs. Two different ways we'll see, and we'll also talk about functional component and the class components. So we'll first make everything in a functional component, and later we'll change the whole thing into a class component. We also need to talk a little bit about Reactjs Hook. So which hook is a new thing in Reactjs, and we'll also see where you can find the more documentation at the end of the video. In the description you can find all the links that you needed for this information. But basically what you will make, you will have a product inventory. So if you work in some shopping website or e-commerce website, you can make a list of product with their price, like product name, price, and the quantity. You can add this in the inventory. Later you can also reduce the quantity or add the quantity or change it by using Reactjs. So there we'll actually learn how actually create some state in the functional component and then actually update them. And then we'll also see React-Bootstrap, use of React-Bootstrap in this website. So basically this is what you see in the screen. What I have, this is actually after I install Reactjs using create React apps. So I install React using create React app. So if you don't know what is create React apps and how to install this one, you need to watch or understand create React apps from another video. You can also visit this website and find how to install this one. After installation, I have only app.js. In the app.js I have nothing actually. I have just some h1 elements from HTML, UL, and some list. And in the header I have class name app header. So this is coming from Reactjs. After you install, you will see this black screen in Reactjs, and there you can actually change or put some information that you wanted. We don't need more data here, so this is for just for understanding. So for now I will just comment this. This is for just for understanding. So let's start first how to create a form in Reactjs, and then we'll come to see these fields. Control K U, can see. So I just comment this part, and now it looks like this. Now I will make a form here. So normally any HTML form you can create. So let's create a form called using React Bootstrap. So for this project I will use React Bootstrap. So React Bootstrap is a library. From this library we will use this library, and if you already understand how to use Bootstrap, so this one will be easy. But this is actually made for Reactjs. That means any Bootstrap you can easily use inside React Bootstrap. But why we need this if you already can directly use Bootstrap in the Reactjs? The problem is if you directly use Bootstrap, you can use all the CSS from Bootstrap, but you cannot use the jQuery part from Bootstrap. As an example, let's click here. If I go to the components, and if I just show you one thing like a model from Bootstrap. So generally in the Bootstrap you also have this, and what is model is doing, if you click here and he's showing a model and you can see some data. So these things is not possible directly when you use Bootstrap. By using React Bootstrap, that thing is easy and you can use it. Even if you don't need to understand everything, you just need the process and how to use React Bootstrap in Reactjs, that will be enough. So because of this I choose this one. Now let's see how can you actually use this inside your first React app. So after you have create React apps and nothing in the app.js, so there I have app.css. This is from Reactjs. If you are already familiar with initial installation of React, you will know this. After that line we'll try to actually put the Bootstrap CSS. I already write this here. So Bootstrap CSS will come here, and let's see how we'll actually get all the information. So if you click on the getting started of React Bootstrap website, then you will see that in some command like this, npm install React Bootstrap. So if you install this one, you will actually install React Bootstrap and Bootstrap. So let's take this one, Control C, and then from the terminal you can click and install this one, if you just install this, and they will install this for you. So when it's installing, let's see the code, like after installation what will happen. So after installation, the data will be actually added to your package.json. You can double check the package.json file, is it already there or not. So if you go to package.json, you see okay, React Bootstrap here, and then Bootstrap here also. Okay, so I see already I see that I installed React Bootstrap and also Bootstrap, two links in the package.json. Let's save it and click here. In the app.js, we need one line to put the React Bootstrap CSS. So let's go to the website of React Bootstrap, and you will find, if you go a little down, you'll find out the link. So you don't need to memorize. You see the following line can be included in your source index.js or app.js. So one of them file you can actually put this Bootstrap. That will be enough. So in my case, I will put this in the app.js. So in the app.js I put it and save it, and let's test it how it looks like. So my product inventory, you can actually put something here from CSS from the Bootstrap, and you can see the differences, but we will see the changes. So now my Bootstrap is inside the apps. I need a components, like separate components, so you can have more familiarities with the components. So there I have app.js. Let's create a source components. So I'll click here for the folder, and inside the folder I write components. So in the component folders I will write down a component for product. So I write maybe functional component. Why I write functional component? Because as I said before that I will actually use two components. One is functional component and another one is for class component. So the same thing quickly I will convert into class components. So you will actually see the difference between functional component and class components. Okay, so let's maybe create another file called class components component.js. Okay, so now for now we don't need class components, we just need functional components. And let's see what we needed for this functional component. First thing we need here to create a function. So this function could be just a general function, and the function we will first create the function and then later we will import this. So let's write down the name of the function, but before writing the name of the function we need to export it. Export default. What we are going to export default? The function, and we can give any name. So in this case we can say okay, so this is the file name functional component.js, but name of the component you can give anything. You can write down add product. So in the add product you write add product and then curly brackets. So this is just a function, and in the functional component we know that they need a return statement. In the return statement you can actually return anything. So by default you can return any values. In this case I am going to actually return some results like a table or some form. So in this case I will write down a div. Initially I write a div, not div, sorry, div, and inside div I will write down maybe hello, nothing. And because I first want to just create this and I want to test it, so inside app.js I want to actually, after this line I want to put my form or the component. So now I will write the name of the component. If it's exported correctly, you can see it here automatically. It will come in the Visual Studio and you see auto import. So if you click here, in line 4 is already imported. Then save it, and then you should see now the word hello inside also here. So now you see that's okay. This is the app.js. This data is first line is coming from app.js. This is coming from the second component, which is functional components. So we can see this one. Now let's write down our form. So initially I said that we are going to use React Bootstrap, and if you go in the React Bootstrap, this website, they actually have different kinds of components. Yeah, this one. So in React Bootstrap, I'll just close this for now, I don't need it. So in the React Bootstrap, they have different components. If you click, and let's see that what we can use for the form. So for the form, they have something like this, and so I'll take this form, and then later I can change it. So this code is for that. This code you see here, you can copy it. This code is for that form on the tops here. So we'll first use it and then see what happens. So if I put it here, and after I put it, let's index this little bit so it looks better. Okay, so after I index it, yeah, now I will actually, if I now save this, I will see some small bugs or the error saying that form is not defined and button is not defined. So this is because if you see React Bootstrap, there have two tags, two components from this library. One is form, another one is under form. There is something called group, level. So everything is nested under form, but they also have one button. So all of them are like a components inside React Bootstrap. So you need to actually import them, and they are coming from React Bootstrap. So we need to import them at the beginning of our code. So we need to write here import. You can write import statement, and where it's coming from, the module, it's a React Bootstrap that you install at the beginning. So from there you need a form, should be capital. Why? Because it's also capital here. And then the second part, you need a button. Okay, so let's save them and go back, and you should not see the error. Yeah, so you see, I see now. Let me just, form is not defined, refresh. Yeah, so I see now email and the password, because it's sometimes compiling takes time, so you have to save it and reload and then check it, is it coming. And let's see which part I don't need. So we'll never share your email with anyone else. I don't need this one. So I first find out this is a form.text, this part, so remove this. And the next part is form group, form level, form control. So form control is actually just something like input. So you have input, and then here we have form basic email. So form basic email is like a something that's actually grouping out this data, form.group, and you see different names. So you can actually change it. So you can write down something like, in this case I'll write down product name. So I'll write the product name, and then the first field should be product name, and then this should be text type of data, and then I write okay and enter the product name. So this is actually similar things. If you compare this part is with a level in HTML, so that line actually this line. Okay, and form control, the second line, this is actually something like this, input type equal to text. So similar fields like this. So this one is actually similar, something like this. Okay, so yeah, if you don't know React Bootstrap how to use this one, you need to spend little time to understand that part. Okay, so now I write down product name, and I also need a name attributes or ID. So I can use the ID or maybe a name. So later in the form, from the form tag, I can actually track this one. So I'll write down here some data like, okay, for the name of this input is product name, and let's go down. So product price, you can write here the price, and then so price is also, you can write text or you can write a number. Let's put a number maybe, and then here you can write also price in euro. Okay, then the last field is like checkbox. So this is actually this one, checkbox. So it's not a login form I'm creating, so I don't need the checkbox. So you can remove it, save it, and then let's write here add to inventory, so every product we are going to actually add in the inventory as a list. I need one more field here, so I can copy this one, which is quantity. So the third fields I needed, so basic quantity, yeah, we can write quantity. The placeholder we can write how many using qty. So in this case we also needed name, so I also needed name for like the first one, product name. So this one also need a name property, and in the name property let's write price, and the quantity let's write name of qty, the short of quantity, so I think you will understand. And let's save everything and then go there and see this one. Okay, so product name, product price, and the quantity. So I'll write something, click on the add inventory, and the below of this one I'll see some results. So results could be something, anything, but before the results let's maybe create a on click event. In this case, before we display anything, we'll just create this. So the form is finished, so we can actually write down something like, so basically if you use the ref, so as I write here, you can see here ref and the synthetic event. So first we will use maybe synthetic event and see what happens. Later we will also see what will happen if you use the ref, the difference between both of them. So I'll comment one code and then write another one, you will see the differences. Okay, for synthetic event or ref, both of them you just need a event handler. So you need a on click or on submit, in this case on submit event, and in on submit event you just say a name of a function that will, when you click, some function will be called. So if you know already handlers, you can write down, okay, handler, so you can write down add product handler method or function, whatever you say. In this case let's write down, so in class component, when you write something like this, the function name or anything's coming, it does not actually needed the type of the function like constant, var, or let, but for this component you need to actually write the type of the data. So also this function should be actually inside the component. Now I am writing outside, so it's wrong. It should be actually inside before the return. So let's write it here, and let's write a name. So you can write down constant, the type of the function, and then for the handler we'll write down add product. So it could be, should be actually camel case, add product. Okay, so it looks like the same name, but it's not the same thing. You can write down, let's write maybe just add. So if you confused, let's write add. So we are actually adding a product, and then we write down something like arrow function. So this arrow function will do something. In this case here you need to write down now the add. So whenever you click, he is going to actually add something in using this function, and by default, if you want to see something, by default they all this function always have an event, because when you click on this one, he is actually creating a synthetic event by default, and then you can see what is coming inside, what exactly inside the event, console log. And you can write anything, you can write event or whatever you will write, that will be always event when you click. This is a very common basic concept for JavaScript DOM elements, and then you will see something. So let's see this first in our console log. Okay, so now if I inspect it in the console log, I can see this one. So in the console log, now if I just click here, you see something is coming, but it's going back because when I click on submit, is trying to go into this function. They have the event, they show this, and then they reload it. So to prevent this or to stop this, you can just write down, you can say, okay, the event default behavior should be prevented. So you can write event prevent default is a built-in function in JavaScript. So you write okay, this function, and then what will happen when he get the event, he will not actually reload, he will just show the data and don't try to submit in any other place until you say. So let's refresh and I click here. So now I see the synthetic base event, this data, and I see the name of my form action is on submit, and the type is submit in general HTML. So there are a lot of things, you see. We don't have much time to actually discuss all of this, but look at some points called target. So actually target is trying to load the form, only that form. If you put my mouse, you see the form is loading here, and then we'll actually talk or take this one. So from the synthetic event, if I write down target, so this is the object, and let's look at the previous one. You see the whole object, synthetic event, and a lot of things inside. Now I write here event.target in line number 7. You can look into this line 7, and go back. So line number 7 is showing this one. Now if I click again, now I see just the form in line 7. So previously I see a big object with a lot of information, some protocol, some information from React, some from JavaScript. So look at this one, it is only giving you directly the form, but what you write, event.target. Now from this form, maybe you needed a specific data. So if I click here, maybe I need product name. So I need to actually take one attribute to see this one. So there I have something called name attribute, and what is the name of this input is called product name. So if I write down dot product name, I'll see the value of this one. I'll not initially see the value, I'll just see the product name. Let's see this one. If I write down target dot product name, and let's minimize it. Okay, so if I write down something, click here, now I see directly only that input, but not the value. For value, you need to write dot value. By default, every input have a value. So after this line, if you write dot value, you see the value. So now if you write down iPhone 11 and click again, now you see iPhone 11. If you write something else, so click here, you see this value. So by this way, from synthetic event, you can actually have something here, and for the more details, I will give the link where you can find more about synthetic event. So we already see that from product name I can get some data. Now I will actually create a variable, and the variable will actually hold all the information that I needed. So I can actually write down something. So let's comment this line. So I don't want to see this console log anymore. Right here that constant form data. So that form data means whatever data is coming from form is coming inside event.target. So event.target is actually holding this information, and then we'll decide what is coming. So let's write a new object, new product, and in the new product we are going to actually have something like product name, and the product name in this case, so this is the object where I'm going to create, and the product name is coming from the form data, that means event.target form data dot product name dot value, and then price form data price dot value, and what we have in the form price, and the last one is quantity QTY. So let's write this QTY form data dot QTY dot price. Okay, so then we have three information: new product, product name, price, quantity. Okay, so now you can again console log and see that okay, perfectly data is coming or not from the for the new product. So new product is just the object here, and what is coming. So this new product, that means every time from the form we should receive everything. So refresh it. Let's write maybe Samsung 4 and give some price, and maybe you need 34 or you have 34 in the inventory, you want to add this. This is just loading. Yeah, perfectly the object is coming, but quantity is undefined. Okay, let's check this one. Probably for quantity I write wrong, it should be actually value. Okay, so then it should be now fixed. If I click, yeah, now he's coming correctly, 34, not the wrong one. Okay, so in this case data is coming correctly. Now the thing is, this is coming inside that function. When you click, event handler is receiving this, and then he is having this one. This is one way how you create this one. And if you use now if I want to actually show the data whenever it's coming, I can see the data in here, but I don't see it in here. So to see here I need a form, I need a table or something. So let's design it again. So where I want to see the data, I will first make it. So I can actually take the format, table format from React-Bootstrap. So you can click and find out the format. They have table format. Click here. So they have different tables. I will take the, because my screen is black, so I'll take something design that's suitable for the black. Yeah, dark table, this one I'll take. So let's take and copy this part of the code. Okay, so I take this one, and after the form I will put this, and as you see, so I'll go up. Okay, perfect. So then I just save it, the table, and now I'll see another error because table I just put it, but this component data should be also coming from React-Bootstrap. So there I need to write down comma table, otherwise I'll see the same error I see for the form and the button. So let's refresh it. Okay, so there's no error. That means when you click in the add to inventory, you see this some results. So in our case, what we'll see the, so this numbers is for the index of array or something. So it should be, this data should be in array. If you know already, the list of data should be array. So this should be array. That means and then first name, last name. So in our case, it will be the product name, price, and the quantity. Okay. So then let's go this one. How we add an array and where we will save. So in this case, in this step, now the concept of a state is coming. The state, which is important. So if you want to add product name, quantity in inventory data, we need to use actually the Reactjs state. So in a functional component, if you want to use a state, you can just create a variable or anything like a state, but for updating a state data, you need to actually use a state or a hook. So generally hook means the thing you cannot use inside class components. By using that some function, you can actually use the property of class component into functional component also. So in this case, we will use useState, and let's see this one. So Reactjs has a hook. So if you don't know hook, then useState. I'll also give the link for all of this. So useState is some property that will help you to update your state. And this is coming from, so this is coming from directly from just from React. So you don't need extra things to install. This is coming from Reactjs directly. And now let's see this, what we'll do. So useState will use, but useState actually need two properties. So inside the function, inside the components, you need two properties for useState. The first one is we can write down like a comments. So first thing is type of data, and then in this case we are going to create an array. So in the array we just needed what exactly you are going to add here. So we are going to actually add product. You can write, because it's a product, so many products, you can write products, and the data of the product is we are going to update. So there I can write down state data that's going to update, state update function. So this is a function that will say that we are going to update the state data. Okay, so it could be, say, the state data or something, anything you can write here. This for just for understanding. And then you say, okay, use state, and use state need initial data inside. Initial data could be anything, any value 0, 1, 2, array or something. In our case, our state data should be always an array, because we want to display array. If there is nothing, the array will be hidden, otherwise there will be some data. Okay, so if you click here, and this is the first part, let's write it down. Now comparing to this structure, if I write down the type of the data, so in this case I can write constant is the type. You can write let if you like, or var. So let or constant is better, var is not recommended. So if you write constant and then array sign state data. So in this case, what is our data? What we are actually going to do? We are going to do added some products. So write products, comma, state. No, you can write down. So you can write anything, but normally it's a recommended way if you still just write it here, like use state in React. So this link I'll later give you, but you can look into this one. So React Hook, you can see that every feature that's without a class component, still you can use some feature from functional components. So the structure look like this, and you see they write everything with a set. So they are going to actually count something using set count. So that means it's actually setting up. So initially there is a value 0, and the 0 means count is 0. Later by the set count, this value will be updated and changed, and then set count will be something else. So that means in this case, every time you click, count is becoming count plus 1, and set count is actually doing this one. You see set count, inside set count they are calling this value, this plus something, and then it's changing. Okay, so you need to maybe read this one if you don't understand that part. Let's look into our case. So we have products, then we can say, okay, set product. So set product is going to actually updating the product, and use the function use state, and then we need some initial value. You can write initial value here, or you can, so in my case I will write initial value as a separate variable. So by default I have initial value, which is just an empty array. Why? Because I will create a array maps, and by default the map will also load. So if I don't have an array or something, but I create some table or something to display list of data, it will not show anything. So initially it's an empty array. Later when I have a new product, and inside this array a new product will come like this. So every time maybe some new product, and it will come one by one, and by comma, and new object will come every time. So then this will hold all this data. Okay, so in this case now I have product, set product, use state initial value, which is just this one, empty value. And then now we need to actually see how can we actually use set product to update these results of the products. So initially if you think of it, what is the value of these products? This product is actually something like this. Now products equal to something like this. So this line actually something like this, and later it will update the informations inside when you click on the add products. Okay, let's go down. So when I get the new product, and then I will tell my code to actually update the products using setState and set product. So set product means this one. This is a function which is going to update products. So we need to call this function. Because of useState, they actually understand this part. So let's go down, And now if I write set product, and set product is a function which is going to update, we can actually comment something. We can write down add a new product inside products array. So this line actually doing this one. So in the product array he is going to add or update something, and for this he needs the structure, like what he is actually going to do. So initially we know that the whole thing after set product is doing something and then he will return the results. Initially that is a array, and in the array if you write new product, and what will happen, the new product will be added. But there will be one problem when you do this, because then after he added new product he will actually not also show the previous products. But yeah, let's keep this one and then we'll see what is the solution in this case. So now a new product is adding, and after new product is adding, let's see these results inside this table. So let's first change it. So look at this one. When I will add some products, what will happen, this value every time you click will be added, right? So that means in the table you will have something, but what we will have, we can actually see it, maybe we can see it here. So let's see console log products. So every time a new product is adding, how it looks like. Save it. So in this line number 21 we can see now what would be the results. Fresh correctly. Okay, so there will not be nothing, but in the console log we can see some data, iPhone 11, 12, maybe, yeah, 23 at inventory, and then Samsung 4. Yeah, I just read just a number. Click here. So look at this one. Initially at the beginning is empty. So when you click here, they're actually showing the initial things, because this is actually happening asynchronously. So when he's calling and updating this, that time the console log is also loading. That's why we don't see it here, but we can actually, when you will call the return or write something here, you can see this one. That will be understand when we will just use this inside the return. But look at the value, like how the array is changing. So array every time, now I add this like 3 or 4 times, but still I have 0. So it's not actually changing, adding. So he is just giving you the new value and overriding the old value. So we need both of them. To fix this, let's remove it, and to fix this problem we can actually, before new product, we need to write down all the previous data in the array. So we know already the spread operator can do this one. So if you write products, whatever products already you have, comma, and then the new product. So the new product would be at the end of the all products, and all this previous product will be also added inside the array. So if you write this way, then everything will be correctly added. And if I now click here many times, and you see now the array size is changing. It could be any array size, like so many data, so many product, different products I can add. Okay, this solved this problem, and that means our product is coming correctly. We don't need anymore this line. Okay, so now product, new product, that is added correctly. Now we need to display it, and it's array, you already see. So for array we can actually use a map, but let's go to the table. So for the first row of the table, you can again come here. This one I will use actually the array index. So I can write down maybe index, and the first one I'll write down product name. Second one I'll write down price, and then the quantity, like how many product you have. Okay, so for this 4 field also they have different tr or td. We don't need actually all these rows. We just need one row which will be dynamically, which will be updated every time you have a new data. So one row is enough. Let's save it, go there. So there's still, it's not static, it's not dynamic. So to make it dynamic, in this case we can actually do something like, we can do something like, this is our one row, so this row I'll cut it for now, and inside the td I'll use a map. So write curly bracket, go to the next line. So what we are actually going to map, the product, all the products. Initially it's empty, but then there will be some value, and then we'll map it. So in the map we will write down a callback function. We say for each item from the product, you can write product or anything, and also there is the index. So this is a callback function inside the map. So basic function, you can see whatever is coming here, we'll just see this one. But in this case, in React.js, they need actually return statement. Let's see what will happen if you don't use return statement. So I take tr inside this one, and in the tr, every time something is happening, I write down some data. So I write here, okay, the first value is index, so that means this index, and then let's write it here, okay, and then the second one is item dot product name, so comparing to this value, and then the price. So then item dot price, item dot quantity. Okay, so the 4 information now coming, and then let's save it, and then see what happens. Now if I refresh, and maybe I add some products, iPhone 11, some price, and before I do anything, look at, there is a bug. Array.prototype.map expect a return value from arrow function, arrow callback return. So here this map actually needed a return value. That means whatever, every time he is loading the map, for each value he need to return something back, and then tbody will add this. So the table will be increased step by step. That means this whole tr should be actually cut it down and put it inside a return. So you can write down a return statement, and you just wrap it up, and then should be actually next line. So if I save it, and in the return statement, then this error is, if we just refresh, this error should be gone, it's not there anymore. Let's write iPhone 11 12,000. So maybe I have 12 iPhone 11 in my inventory. Click here, I see iPhone 11 12 and 12 quantity, but still there is a warning, each child in the list should have unique key properties. This is actually when you use a map in React.js, or in the also general map in JavaScript, and you want to return something or do something for each child. That means every row is a child of tbody, and you need a key. So you need to use the key attributes, or the key, and the key attributes you need to write down some key, like some number, anything. In this case we have index already, so if you write index, and that will actually solve this problem. So then you can, now if I refresh it, every time I will click, it will be gone. So I see maybe different products, and you see my index number start from 0, because we know that in an array index number is start from 0. You can still change it if you like putting index +1, and then you see 1 2 3, the latest one, but I will not actually do this, so I'll keep this one for now. And look at this one. So React-Bootstrap is working, and you can add something in the inventory. That is our first part we did using td or something. But let's look into our code. Like we did everything using synthetic base events from React.js using event.target. But if I use create ref, or ref from the React.js, which is, you can see here, ref and DOM. So I already used the link is here, and you see the ref is a property in React.js. So this is not JavaScript part. Event.target or synthetic event is a JavaScript part, so you can use this any JavaScript code, but ref is a React part. So for handling the DOM elements in React.js, you can actually use the ref, and the latest way of using ref is using the create ref like this, and then use some property, and you can use it this here. So let's see this, how can I use this. So basically for this part I don't need much things to do. Only the first thing, if I want to use ref for the whole form, I just needed, because you can still use the every input as a new reference of every value the form has, but in this case I will use the whole form as a reference, so I get all the information. If I write here ref equal to, and then I give a name. So any name I can put here, I can write a name. So I can give a name like I can write down something like, I can say maybe form data, that I write on the tops. So this is actually giving a reference. So this is a new name, so you can assume like a variable you are giving, and the name is form data. So you need to actually create this on the tops. So here inside you need to import actually something called before React you need to import something like, here you need to import comma create ref, this function. If you import this function, so basically you can compare with this one. So you import the function, they don't show it, but yeah, of course you need, but they write react dot create ref. We don't need to write it because it's coming from React already, so I can directly use the function, and then I need to actually make a reference. So they make a reference inside the constructor, inside the constructor function, but if you use the functional components, then it will be a little bit different, it will not be the same. In this case, if I use this here, so if I write down initial value product name, yeah, here I can actually use this. Maybe after this one I will create one reference, so I'll say maybe, or I can use this inside directly in the function. So in the function event.target new product, let's comment this part of the code, so we can just use the reference. Okay, and then I'll again just copy this after commenting. So then I'll just paste it, and why I'm copying pasting, because it's exactly the same thing, so you don't have to do some much. So let's say that constant form data, and this form data is creating from create ref. This function is creating this form data, and when you have this line, that means this variable form data, we are actually using this also inside the form here in this line. So this reference is giving or having everything, and now the form is actually load all the name dot product name. But then this code will be a little bit different, because look at this one. Now this code will need to change, because if you write form data product name value, it will not work, because everything in a form data, the create ref, they actually have the information inside something else. So it could be actually a little bit different. It should be after form data we need to write something called current dot, and I'll show you why. Current dot. So first let's test it, is it our code is still working or not, and then we'll talk about this. So form data is not defined, let's refresh. Yeah, so form data is not defined, line 31. Yeah, so the code has some problem in line number 31. Form data is not defined, reference error. So I write form data but line 31, that means inside this line the form data is not defined. So here I have to actually write it little bit different way. I think I need to write down the quotation form data. Okay, in this case we will just write down. Okay, so yeah, I write it wrong actually, because the solution would be not this, should be like what I write form data previously. That's okay. And in the form data I will now write down something little bit differently. If I go out, and what I write wrong here is because form data is creating by createRef, and if I write this inside, then when it's rendering or returning the results, they're trying to call the form data, but I write it inside the function, and this function is only calling when you click, so that part should be actually outside. In this case, if I cut it, so it should be actually outside, so we can put it outside of the function. Like here we can write again, and then it will be okay. So we write okay form data. Now the problem should be actually gone, and then you can see form data dot current product name value. So yeah, why we write form data dot current product name dot value? Because normally when you have a form data, you click on the event, you can actually see here in a console log what inside the form data. So if you write down, this is actually the reference is giving something, and form data dot, let's see form data first. So if I refresh and without writing anything, click here, and I see something current form. So you see the current is the value that will actually hold something from the form. Now if I write down dot current, and then whatever I'll write here, it should be also click here, I see the form now. So current is actually holding the same thing. So this is actually the same thing we use for event.target. Event.target is giving you the whole form, but in this case form data dot current is giving you everything. So this is little bit different than the synthetic event, base event. So you can use one of them. Okay, so let's see this now. If I have form data dot current, and then everything look like this, and let's comment this console log which I used for the previous one, and then see what we can actually do here. So if I refresh, and if I let's see that everything is still working or something changes, maybe 2032 inventory. So this is one product. If I have also maybe iPhone 10, so maybe in the company we have iPhone 10 which is 800 euro, and for every iPhone you have maybe 12 iPhone in the inventory. So you have different products like this, and I don't have any console log, so I don't see anything, but what task is working perfectly, so we can see this one. The problem is here you now see that okay, each product is adding and you can see them, and now we are using also reference. Now it's working with a reference, not the synthetic event. So we are using the refs, using createRef, and there is no error. So you can use one of this way from both of them. Now the thing is it's correctly working. Also useState is updating the data inside this part, and now our next target would be to actually also update the information with a different process. The process is like, we'll write down something here now, like how we can actually also change the quantity after add this, like this one. So for this we need to make it like a linkable or something extra. So maybe in the T body I will add some extra features, extra attributes for the table header. I will add something like okay, so here I write something wrong. Let's remove this. Yeah, so after th I'll write down something called th, and in the th I'll write down maybe some options. No, we'll write down, so let me look into this one first, how it looks like. So for each quantity we can use actually plus and minus button. So every time I click plus or minus button, this quantity will change. So let's do this as we also write it here. So price, quantity, inventory data, and later we will see something. So we already use useState, we use the form in React.js, reference and synthetic event. We see the difference between them, and Bootstrap we already used. The last part will make the class components, but before that let's write something more. So let's write it here. Maybe you have options, you can actually write edit or submit or something, edit, increment, decrement, anything like this, but mainly here I will use the two buttons for like click buttons for increment and decrement. So how I will do this, inside this td I'll write down two buttons. So one button, simple button you can use, or you can write the button from you can directly also use just Bootstrap, or you can choose a button from React Bootstrap. From this one choose the buttons, and then you can choose which buttons you want to show. It will be like this. Let's maybe I'll choose because I'm using this one, so I'll use maybe for adding something I'll use maybe success, this one. Okay, I don't know why they write it. So here I just needed maybe plus, and then I need another one for minus. So one is going to increment the value, one is going to decrement. Okay, so this one is minus. You can change this variable into danger, so you can actually look into the list. So danger means red one, and the success is this one. That means there we'll use another two event, on click event. In this case it's not on submit because it's just one function. So I'll create two more event. I'll say okay, increment. So for increment I'll write increment the quantity qty, increment quantity, and the second on click should be decrement quantity. This is very simple. So these two function we will create, and then whenever we'll click, then it will be increment or decrement. Let's look in the view first. So increment, decrement is not defined, so we write it here, but we did not create them. That's why we don't see this increment, decrement. Let's go up and create them exactly the same name, and they should be created before return. So we can write here some comments. You can say okay, increment quantity value by 1. Every time you click, it will be increment by 1. That means you say how many you want to increment. So we write down a name of the function. You can say constant increment quantity. So the function suggestion is already coming. I can write arrow function, and in this case you don't need the event because it's not a submit on submit. So still you can use event of course, but we don't need it because every time you click, then function will come and automatically he will do something, increment. So first I'll write them, and then so for decrement I will also need another function. So for decrement I just needed another function, and should be decrement by value by 1. So 1 is just minus from the previous data of the quantity. So we can say decrement quantity. Now if you save this, the function has nothing, but still I think our error should be gone, not defined. Let's refresh. Increment quantity. Okay, so Now maybe I'll write something, click here. Okay, so it should be like this. Now I don't give any value, but when I will click, the quantity will be changed, and when I click, it will be reduced. So to do this part, you can actually come here again. Let's write increment quantity. So let's look into our state. So in this case, our state is triple dot of the products. So the product is your state, and product has some data. So for the product, when you click on the plus button or the minus button, he will actually decrement it, or he will just reduce it. What he will do in this case, first he need the number. So which number is going to actually decrement, because you have maybe many products here, and every product has an index number. So when you click in this increment, we need the value of the this button or something, and then we can actually reduce the decrement value. So we need in this case, then we can use again the reference or event handler, whatever you like. So if you write reference, then you can actually use ref here, and you can say the like increment. You can write for increment the value of the reference, whatever value is coming for this one, but then you need to write two lines, like the value for this one. What is the value? I mean, which value for this button when you click is actually going there. So two ways you can do it. We can write it two ways, like so. Here we just need to write some value, and the value would be for every index you need to write index, and then this reference we need to also create, and then this reference will actually have this information of the index. So let's go up. So here we create one reference. Let's create another reference for our increment index. This is actually increment. You can write the reference for increment index. Yeah. So there I need to also write down index, same name, and then go up. So increment index also coming from create ref, and so you see I create another reference, and what will happen now, if I click on the increment button, then there we'll actually see the, let's see this in the console log. In the console log, now I'll see the increment index dot current dot value. So the value of that reference, what is coming. So in this case, reference is not a good idea, but let's see this first, and then we'll see why you don't need to use reference. So here now by default in the console log I have nothing, but I will see the index number. So I use iPhone 11, maybe some price, and quantity is 10 products. So I click here, this is now index 0, right? So 0 index, and I add another, so it's 0 and 1. Now if I click the second one, I should see 1, because the index is 1, so I can actually see the index number. If I click first one, I see index number. If I click first one, still I see index. Yeah, so that's wrong, because it should actually show me only the reference for the correct index. So let's see this one, increment index. Did I write index or something else? Yeah, but so we see this with the index number from this loop. So that's actually a little bit tricky for this one. We will use the with reference, we can see the index number also, but then we should actually not use the reference, because that will take actually little bit more works. Why? Because you need to write ref value, and then you need to also separately also declare this one, but we don't need actually this extra work. So what we can do, we can directly use the event, synthetic event in this for this small task. So for synthetic event, we will just, let's remove it, go down. We will not use the reference, this is just for show, so you can but still, yeah, of course you can use reference, but for this small task, click and changing the value you don't need. When you click increment quality, there is a value for each element of this value, and you can actually call the function in a little bit different way. So you can send something, because there we call a name of a function on click. You can also call a function by using a arrow function like this, and in the arrow function you can actually send something. So what you can do, you can write here actually event. So the event means when you click on the buttons, then an event is creating, and the event is actually we are trying to send the whole event. So this event is actually only for this button, not for the whole form. When you click on this event, the event means actually only this button, and there is a value. So if you write event.target.value, then you will actually see these results from the index, and that's more easy. So if I go up, and I don't need to just write down event or something, I just needed event here. So in this case, the event is not a bunch of inputs or bunch of form, it's just a button. So from the button you get some value, you can directly write console log, and if you write event dot target dot value, that will be enough, because it's just one button and they don't have a name, so name attribute, they just directly have a value. So you should see the value of the index number, it's more easily than the reference. So if you refresh and then we write down iPhone 11, click here, so I see 0, and then maybe I have 3 index. Now I click 1, I see the index, middle index. If I click this one is 0, and I click this one, I see 2. So it's more easily loading. But with ref, we already see there is a lot of things you need to write, but for this small part you don't need. So it will be recommended to use ref when you have a big form and a lot of data, but not for single elements. You can directly use event. Okay, so I get the event, and let's see now why I need this value, event.target.value. Why I needed this? Because this data, what is coming, this is actually a variable. So you can write down constant index of array. That means the number of the index of array is actually hidden here, and based on this index array you can actually update what you are going to update, the state. In this case, products is your state. So if you want to update the products, you can write here products, and it's array, so you can write down index of array. From the products, from this index we will just change the quantity. So what we will change, actually we'll take this value, so we'll call this one, and then previously the value was this, we'll increment by 1. Okay, and then we put the new value into by incrementing 1. So this is done, and then you see the latest one. So whole product is actually changing based, but only this index value is changing. But you need to tell this to your component, and then they will actually re-render the information, and then you will see the results. For this you just need to call again the set product. So set product is a function, in this case from useState, which is telling you what is updates. So in this case, if you write down 3 dots products, and he will actually have this the whole information. So this line means he is actually loading whatever you have previously, but that line already changed something, so you should also see this one. If it's not work, maybe you need to also write down the latest product, but it's already done, so you don't have to do this part. When you write 3 dot product, that means all the changes, all the things happens will be put inside set products. And so because there is nothing new is coming, the old one you just updates and changes. So let's see this one. So now I'll refresh fast, and iPhone 11 price is 1200, and then quantity is maybe 3. Add it, and then I want to increase it, so I just click Okay, so I see when I click it's adding, but it's adding in a different way because it's not a number, and when I write +1 he is not actually doing the number things. So we can actually do this little bit different way. The easy way would be when you create the object at the beginning, like from the form value here, we can actually convert it in a number. So every time a new number or new value is coming, it should be a JavaScript number to convert into JavaScript number, and then the result would be actually simple. So if you write like this, and let's try again. So now if I maybe refresh, iPhone 11 price, and maybe I have only 60 of this, and I click here. Now if I click, it should be 61. Yeah, so now he's changing without any problem. But if I click this one, nothing happens because I did not finish the function. So the second function, the decrement function, is much easier, because if you go understand this one, increment, the decrement would be everything same, only small part would be little bit quickly you can change. So index of the array for this function you also needed, but it will be actually -1, and then set product is same. Only the things we need here is event, so like previously the same thing, but then in the function in the button I did need to also change it, this part. So here I need to write event arrow function, and then for this function I just need to send the event, and also I need to put the value because value is missing. So value is also index for this, both of them. Let's write index, and now let's try this. So if I write down iPhone 11, 12, how many, maybe 55, click here. So now maybe I will add also another phone so I can see the whole changes. Samsung 4, maybe it will be 450 each, and then we have maybe 100 of them. Click here. So I have 2 index. Let's change this for 1. So we say okay, we have maybe 5 products, 5 new products, and if I click this one, it's reducing again. You see, it could be reduced. So I say okay, we just reduced, some of them reduced or sold, and so yeah, so both of them are changing here. That means it's working functionally perfectly without any problems. So we actually cover all these parts until now. We see everything from functional components. And so if you look into our initially what we said, we will talk about reference and synthetic event, the form in React.js, how it's working, how to use useState hook from the functional component. Now let's see the functional and class components, the difference between, because we create everything in functional component, use useState, and also we added product name, price, quantity, data, and bootstrap use. So if I use the functional components, what will happen in this case? The class components, we first create a class components. So using class component, the whole code would be a little bit different. Maybe I'll create this in the side, open in other side. Okay, so then we can compare. So if I want a class component, for in this case the things will be a little bit different, because we need this line, of course, because this is coming from React-Bootstrap. So also in the class component we needed this, and now if I use useState, create ref, these two I don't need it, because I don't need useState, because useState is coming from the hook, which is only for functional component. Class component does not needed this. Okay, so for class component we don't need it, but we need actually the create ref, because create ref is for the reference. So let's take it. So this is the part of how you actually convert a functional component into class component. So I don't need useState anymore. Okay, and then next part I need to see that what exactly I needed. So there I have export default function. In this case, if it's a class component, should be export default, and you need to write down the class, because the class components we can write the same name, or we can write so we just write this different name, maybe same name could be problem. So we write and we know that for the class components, not a function, you write like this way. And what we have actually in a class components, in class component initially you have a constructor. So in the constructor you will have some data. So in this case our data is products. If you look into this one, so our data is products, and that means this data should be actually we need also to call super, because class component also needed some fetcher from the parents. In this class component, parent is app.js, so we need to call the super, and then we need this dot state. In this case everything is a state data. So inside the state data you will have a products, and then the product initially is empty array. So look at the part like how we use. So in the class component we are just converting this part, and we just write products, initial value is empty array. In this case initial value is just this one. Now let's go down, and the form, create form, this reference is same, you can take it. So this value or this information you can still write it as it is, you can write it after this one here. Okay, so then you have this, or yeah, you can write it here also. So form data, we just write it in the create form, and then we have a function. So let's quickly take the function. So I'll also add the comments and everything. Then I will remove the extra part from this one. So the function it should be outside of the constructor. So let's put it in the constructor and go up. Actually it will be better if I just take it like this. I think I will take all the things, because they will be same almost, only little bit of changes, so I can quickly write it. So let's go down. Okay, there's a lot of code. Yeah, maybe first we create the part for after constructor. In the class component we need to render the data and return the results, whatever result is coming. That is a the structure of class components. Now if you need to use something, so let me just save it, and from the functional component I will take this data, this handler. So 3 handler I have, increment, decrement, all these 3 handler I needed, and also the return statement has some data for design and everything. Okay, so I will take actually all the things they have, and then in a class components actually close it. So in a class component, let's see how we can actually put this. So I will put it here first, and there will be a row. So I'm quickly converting it. Okay, so the first thing, all this type of the data does not need a type, because it's a class component, no type, you cannot put any types. Okay, and then if you go, let's reduce the extra comments. So we don't want to see event is same, there is no difference between event when you convert it. Okay, rest of the part we can keep like this. Okay, yeah, then the next one I don't need also the type of the variable. Let's put it down. Yeah, so this also does not need a type, so only arrow function is enough. So when you write arrow function, you don't need anything else. And then there is a return. So this return, I already have another return, so I'll cut it. The div part should be inside the class constructor, the class return. So look at this part now. Inside this return, we need this value. Okay, so then after I put this value, okay, let me save everything and also refactor it using Control A. Okay, then I'll go up and see there is any error. Okay, so it does not look any error. Again, I'll look back. So this value, the form, button, tables from React-Bootstrap I needed, create React apps I needed. I need the add inventory constructor. So all the products is here. It's an array. And then when you click on the event, then we have set products, but set product is coming from a useState. In this case, we don't have set products. So how we will actually update in this case? In this case, you don't need set products because by default, class component has this dot set state that's going to update a state. So in this case, our state is inside this one. So we just need to write products, and then we need to write this dot state products, and then it will be updated. So we need to write it not like this. We have to write it like this, and then I need to write here the products was my array. So inside product array, I need to put a new value. So there is two ways you can do it. The first part is the new product. So in the products is the array, so you will add a new product inside this products. Let me just write it. So here, before we do anything in the set state, we need to actually do something because I write class component but I did not extend. So every class component need to be extend using React components property. So in the React we have component, so you will extend the class component using components. This is basic configurations. Okay, so now this is a add inventory. We write component. I hope this is okay. And then after this we have add. Let me check where is the problem. Let me see the error. Form data is not defined. Let's refresh. It's not the same error. It should be okay. Form data is not defined because here we write form data, but the form data is actually coming from this line 42. In functional component, we don't need to write, we can just write the function name, but in class component, when you write a reference, you need to write this dot form data, something like this. And then I have probably different error. Okay, my error is something different. Let's go up. Reference error add is not defined, line 42. Okay, so reference error add is not defined. If we go up, so in this case I don't see any problem with the add because it's an arrow function. So hopefully it's okay. Maybe compiling time takes time. Increment. Okay, we have set state here, but we did not actually do anything yet. Because we need to actually write it not constant form data because it's a class component, so you need to write this dot form data, and then the create form can actually have it. Still not having it. maybe refresh one more time, because now it's light up. Takes compiling time little bit. Okay, decrement, add module. Okay, so constructor super this state, and then this dot form data create ref. Okay, so until now it seems okay, and I don't see any error here. Let me find it quickly. So every place I need to write this, and this is a big problem with the class component this dot add, and check me where I actually need to write this dot. Go down for the two buttons, for on click event also. For on click event, for on click event I don't need to, because they're directly calling it, but so let me save it again. Okay, so here you see the form data dot, we need actually all the form data dot current. Before all of them I need just this again. So every place I need to use this, like this dot form data dot current, so then I can actually reduce some error. So now I see product is not defined, product line 29, check the line 29. This is not you will do every time, but sometimes you need it. So index target event, and then here you need to write this dot product, this dot state dot product, so it's a big one, and again this dot state dot products. So this line 29 should be now gone. 35, line 35 two times. This dot state dot this dot state dot. Now products, line 74 and 82, 83. Okay, line 74. Let's check line 74. So here I write products, but this should be actually this dot state dot products, and line 82 is probably here. So we use the event, we are sending the event when we click, and then we write okay, that should be actually this dot hopefully there is no error, any more error. Let's look. Product is not defined. The error is I see two things, because let me check. Okay, so now it's okay, it looks okay and fine. We can refresh, and there should be no error anymore, and it should be actually working. But this is coming from the functional component we use. New product is assigned a value but never used. Okay, so we can actually now go to the app.js, and I have add products, so I'll remove this for now, and I will use the second one for the class component. The name of the class component we put add inventory, because they are doing the same function, so I don't want to show you two times. Add inventory auto import is happened, and probably then we should see something exactly the same data. So the same data is coming. Now we see that if there is any more new error is coming, but we see that new product is assigned line 16 but never used. So line 16 in the class component, we can see that we have a new product, everything is coming, but then we did not actually add this. So this part we need to do. Let's use this dot set state. Inside this dot set state, we need to write down which part of the code we are going to update, or which part of the code we are going to put inside. So then you know that already, if you want to update something in a state, in this case state is a just array inside object, and inside the object you have a product. So in the product you are going to actually add a new product every time. So the easy way would be, you can actually add this like this. You can write this dot state dot products. So this is a array, and then in an array you can directly push something, a new product. So new product is going to push, and after this update here you just write down what just happened. You just say, okay, I actually needed to update products, and I will write down this dot state dot products. So that means the latest updates you will actually put inside here. So this line is getting the new value, and that line is actually telling for re-rendering and saying setState that we update this thing. So look at the function we use the same way, but it's a little bit different. We just use the directly write set product and then put all the values, and also new product is coming. But in this case you are not doing this. You just saying that, okay, this product is updating, the new value will not be actually, old value will be not removed. So let's see this first, what happens. So refresh, iPhone 11 price, something like this, 12 of them. Click here and you see this one. So you can add actually different products, but now we'll see something different. Like if I click here and this value will be updated or changed. So how can we do this? Look at the down. So here you also need to call setState. So what we will do here, we don't need this, we just write this dot setState, and then you will just call again, because you actually added one products, update of one products happened, and then we can actually just tell the latest update. Let's copy this part. Hopefully this part, all of them will have the same results, nothing new. And for decrement also the same results. If it's not working, then we'll just see why not. Refresh, price, 12 value, add quantity, add another one, press. So it's changing, it's reducing, changing and reducing. So this is all happenings correctly, there is no problem. Okay, so then we have product. This products is going to update in this line, and setState is telling this. Let's first try this part. If we refresh, so in there I just write down Xiaomi, some price, quantity, add to inventory. Okay, now this part is also working perfectly without any problem. We see something like called do not mutant state directly because of this line. This line, because in outside we are trying to actually change the state value, but they are saying that to change this inside. So if you do this a little bit different way, like you say, okay, I'm going to update the products, like some value of the products, but not here. I will change it maybe in different places. You can actually do this. So initially here we can actually reduce this by using the previous state, changing the previous state, loading everything, and probably I see error. Which line I put error? Okay, no error. So generally you don't see mutate problem, but you can solve this, but we don't have much time. It's already long time. So this is you can actually change by using the previous state and changing something. But yeah, for our exercise we don't actually need to change it. What we see now here, we have different products we can add. So class component is just for understanding how we can convert something, but mainly the functional component we need to understand here and see the user state and other properties. So all the property we see here, we just try to fill it up using form in Reactjs and everything. So we can finally see the output. So iPhone 11, product price maybe this, and the quantity is 12. Let's add this like this. Now if I change it to something else like Samsung 4, maybe 230, and maybe you have 45 of them, click here. So you have different products. Now you can increase this, you can decrement this, you can increase this also, you can decrement this. So when I click, yeah, it's decrementing. By this way, the same way, you can actually change the value of the state, like this price. You can edit it, you can also change the iPhone numbers and other things. In another video we will start from this point, and we will also see how can update and also the mutates problem and other things, and how to solve this one. But for now we can write down maybe something more like Xiaomi, Redmi. So it could be maybe 500 euro. Maybe you have 10 of them, and then you click and put in the inventory. So you put 10, but then you decided, okay, maybe I have 5 more, it's 15 totally. All this data is staying in this page, but if you refresh it will be gone. So this is actually still the state is available until for the one page, but it's not still available when you refresh, because there is a problem with state and stateless. But we can see how we use the functional component and how to convert it into class components. So thank you for watching, and later we will see more different projects and more differences between them, different components, and see the latest updates of products and what we can do with this one. So for basic information you can watch other video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.